how to make friends in this industry, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
You reach out, and maybe it's a little uncomfortable at first and you feel a little shy because you're like, I'm going to sit on the call with this person and I don't really know them. But that if you're in this industry, you have enough in common to connect deeply
Yes.
with other boudoir photographers,
Or,
portrait and intimate photographers.
and in that same vein, if you're nervous to join an online membership or come to an in-person workshop or whatever, it's like you're gonna make friends with the people who are there. You don't have to know anyone.
Totally. Against your will, you're going to make friends.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
So I love this and I'm loving these conversations. And so session 3, episode 3 is about the feminine gaze, which is something that I have been talking about for, it feels like forever. And really what that looks like is just a conversation about, and really what that looks is a conversation about photographing humans outside of performance and perfection and traditional beauty and societal standards.
Yes. Happy Pride. I love the feminine gaze.
Yeah. And when we talk about the feminine gaze and photographing humans, we're not just talking about photographing women or those who identify. We're talking about photographing humans through the lens of the feminine. And I think that is an important distinction. And I've had this conversation many times with many different people. And for me, the biggest indicator of it being a feminine versus masculine lens is this commodifying the subject. And if it's commodifying the subject, that's framing something with a lens, and that is a lens of the patriarchy, a tool of the patriarchy and these traditional standards. But yeah, so I'm sure you're bubbling with comments on this, so take it away.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I think it's important to make that distinction. Like you said, I, as a woman, can photograph through the male gaze if I choose to, right?
Absolutely.
And like, it's just like patriarchy. Like we're not saying one gender can and one can't and whatever. We're talking about these ideas and these systems and what those tend to mean. And an example that's coming up for me is one of my favorite 80s slashers. So I'm a huge horror movie fan, and it's called Slumber Party Massacre. And it's a really great one because it's infamous because it had a female writer and director, I think, and director, but definitely a female writer. And the subtext and what it is saying about women in horror movies and the consequences women face for doing traditionally masculine things is actually really deep and it's really interesting. It's not exploitation in that sense. It was like a very self-reflective, well-written film. Unfortunately, the cinematographer filmed it all through the lens of the male gaze. So a lot of people miss that, especially for me. It took the second or third watch to really get what was going on in the story, because the way it was filmed, unfortunately, just makes it feel just as trashy and oh yeah, there's the wide shot of the bare butt, and then it didn't really mirror that. And so it's really interesting, I think, to bring up an example like that of what we're talking about, because I feel like when we think about boudoir photography and where it came from and how it started, and again, I've got a whole 2-day workshop that I did on the PPA website about this called Build Your Own Boudoir Philosophy. But we can look at all these different ways that women have been portrayed in photographs. And then even before then, look back in art history, right, as more your strong suit. And I grossly oversimplify in my presentation, but we look at all the different ways, like the different body types, the different types of posing, the different ways that women are portrayed and men are portrayed, and then in photographs and throughout the 20th century. And then we think about Playboy magazines and, okay, what did that exist for? And then when women started to do boudoir portraits of themselves for their partners, like in the 80s and 90s at the same time, and pinups before that, whatever, just like, what was the purposes of that media? What was that created for? What was that created to sell most of the time, right? It's like the Playboy magazine, yeah, it had beautiful women on the front and boobs on the inside, but that existed to sell cigarettes, alcohol, electronics, cars. That was like, what that existed to do.
It's objectifying versus reclamation or
the women were just they were another potential possession, right? That's what they're portrayed to be. And it's, to me, as also a very like sex positive individual, I'm just like, oh yeah, some trashy photos that a woman is agreeing to do, like trashy as some people would say, or exploitative, like cool, do it. If that's what someone is choosing to do, okay. I think the problem comes when we just like limit, like grossly limit this entire powerful genre and say, it's just this one thing. And part of me wants to take them by the hand and say, oh, it can be so much bigger than that. Like, just because it's about someone's ownership of themselves, which sex is a part of, but let's not just say it's just that. Like, we're so much more than that.
Yeah. And when I first started in the photography industry in the 2010s, so originally I had done a lot of glamour modeling and pinup modeling, and I was noticing the objectification, but also it was a very empowering thing for me to model and feel good about myself and to produce and style and these shoots. And that felt really good. But then I started seeing this like specific type of photography that was like very popular in the mid 2000s, where photographers would take models out to abandoned locations and shoot them in very sexually overt positions and styles, and then turn up the grain and the clarity, and it became like this
vignette, girl.
And that really turned me off. And I think that was one of the things that really pushed me to pick up a camera. And I just think it's a little too on the nose. And I think that I thought that we could do better than this.
Yeah.
And so I picked up a camera and I started taking pictures of my friends with their souls and their energy in mind. And I was doing it from a place of love and care and creation and artistry. And that changed everything for me. So that was like, this for me is the medium that I have been searching for my whole life as an artist. Everything just clicked.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm glad you shared that. I would say my experience with starting boudoir photography in like 2009, 2010 was also photographing my friends. And I had seen it done in ways that I was highly critical of at the time, being still very involved in high control religion, which was a big part of my life, and purity culture and modest is hottest and all that kind of stuff. What I didn't realize I was doing for so much of the beginning of my career was still objectifying women, even though the photo shoot was just for their new husband, or was very soft and beautiful and no booty up in the air and no sexual positions and things like that. And it took a while, especially when I started to really look at the why, for that to unravel and show me, oh, wait, purity culture also objectifies women.
That is so powerful. What a major journey to have.
And so it's like you starting on this end, right? And then me kind of over on like being on two ends of the spectrum, right? And you having been modeling in that and producing those things and being so deeply in it. It's like we both, I feel like, once we really got to it, we were like, wait, this isn't why I wanted to show up to this work. Like a logical conclusion of this philosophy I have, that's going to get a thumbs down for me, actually. And it's uncomfortable. And I think that's why my PPA article and then the workshop I did for them, I called it My Boudoir Philosophy, because the philosophy you have around whatever you're creating is so important. It's the foundation. It's the foundation of the house. Everything comes from that. And I think so much education these days and workshops stuff just addresses the windows of the house or the siding or the furniture inside. And it's cool. You can pay the amount of money I found out some people pay for lighting workshops is mind blowing to me, just to learn lighting, which cool. I know it can greatly improve your career, but if you're still not sure on why you're even showing up to this or viewing the people you're photographing as humans, yikes. It's time to back up a little bit.
No matter how much money you spend on workshops, you're never going to get it if you can't connect with people.
Yes, absolutely. Like I mentioned in the last episode, that man who's, I've done this 20 years, honey. Step aside. I know. And it's, wow, okay, you can, and it's, maybe that worked 20 years ago. It's not working so much these days, especially as women are doing these more intimate portrait shoots more and more often for themselves, whether they're partnered or not, right? Because it's 2026, women, we have our own credit cards now. man. We've got our own jobs. We've got largely a lot more agency than we ever have in many ways, and more decision-making power and all of that. And so if you're not appealing to what people actually want, and it's also just such an old kind of misogynistic type of phrase, right? What do women really want? What do they really want? And it's okay, we're all human beings with our own individual wants and desires, but I think we want what everyone wants, which is to be seen.
Yeah, exactly.
To be seen, truly.
Like to be actually seen.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the number one thing that people tell me in all of my Google reviews over the years. Unfortunately, I'm in Google jail right now because I moved and they think I'm being deceptive with my new address, so you can't find them.
Google jail, we've all been
there. So rude. But anyway, it's great because there's just robots on the other end telling me, doing all my appeals and telling me still lying. But anyway, it's fine. But what they would say is, you make me feel seen and you make me feel comfortable. Those are the two biggest words. And at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. That people, and I think as photographers, one of the hardest pills to swallow is we can't do that for other people truly unless we've at least started to do that for ourselves.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to say you can't, I'm not going to say you have to be perfectly empowered and confident in order to offer sessions ethically. That's not what I'm saying. You just have to be willing to even look in the mirror and go on that journey yourself. Because if you're not, like, what are you doing? It's not going to work out for you. And then you're just going to blame the economy or whatever. And it's like,
yes, agreed. And that is why we have to have these conversations, because it's not just about creating beautiful images for our clients, right? It's about creating images that feel collaborative instead of consumable. And we do that by really making our clients feel seen by seeing them, right? So you have to actually create the space. You can't just be like, you, and like the lip service, you have to sit down. You have to sit your client down when they come into the studio, and you have to say, what are your intentions for this session? How do you want to feel? Do you want to feel sexy? Do you want to feel sensual? Do you want to feel strong? Do you want to feel submissive? Do you want to feel empowered? Do you want to feel dangerous? And I think that this is the best way to open the floor for your client once they come into the space. And that's okay if they don't know the answer to the question, right? Because you can guide them in that conversation. But opening the floor and asking them those questions is such an awesome way, I found, of really being more collaborative with my photo sessions, right? Because the last thing that I want to do is have a client come in and have the exact same experience that the last client had.
Yeah.
That will never happen in my studio. I don't go through a posing flow. I don't go through I just don't do that, because that doesn't feel authentic to me. And if I'm not creating authentically, I'm not creating.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's one of the things I tell the people I mentor and coach so much. I'm like, just pay attention. Literally pay attention to what they put in their contact form. Pay attention to what they texted you they were nervous about before the shoot or emailed you. Pay attention to the words they're using and bring those back up to them, because they forgot they said it. Right. Yeah. And you're gonna pay attention when they show up at the shoot. One of my favorite tips that I feel like illustrates this really is, I say, when they get to the shoot, pay closest attention to two clothing items. The first thing they pull out of the bag, and then the other thing that they never pull out of the bag, because they took the effort to pack it for their shoot, but they didn't pull it out and show it to you. Two most important things that they brought.
Love
right?
That.
Photograph them in both. There's so many things like that. You just have to get out of your insecurity and worrying about doing it wrong and worrying about being enough and worrying about a sale and worrying about all these things, and just pay attention and see. It's like active listening times 100. Like, listen to them, see them, and then it's right there. Everything they need, everything they want out of it, it's right there in front of you. You just have to pay attention to it and not overcomplicate it.
Yes, agreed. And I think a little pattern recognition goes a long way. I have never had the same person in my studio twice, right? Not to say that I haven't had repeat clients, but what I mean is every client is different, but patterns help you recognize what kind of a client they will be. or what kind of a client they are, or what kind of a person they are. And by understanding those patterns and cataloging them in your brain and being able to pull up that nuance on the spot when needed, that's what's going to set you apart from everybody else. Because that intuitive read and that energy read, that's what they're coming to you for, right? They're coming to you for your energy, your power, and your creative artistry to mix and meld with theirs. They want to see themselves through your lens. And the best way to do that is not only take gorgeous photos of them, but to see them truly and fully as who they are and what the experience they want to have when they come into your studio.
Yes. Yes. And sometimes that looks, oh, I had this idea in the back of my brain of this set I was going to do, or this outfit thing I was going to do, or this lighting cool trick I wanted to try, but like, I'm just not feeling it now that the shoot's going. And you just say that to yourself and you're like, what does feel good? Let's do that. Like, that's what I always tell my students is pick the light that lights you up. What's the lighting that feels good to you in this moment? Right. And what's lighting you up? What's making you excited? I think we have our defaults, right? We all have our favorite sandwich. We all have, and it might change and evolve over time. You might have the same stinking sandwich and you're like, I'm going to do avocado instead of cheese every time, baby. That might be you, right? And so we're going to have those same things that we start out with every shoot, or that way we do it, but then we're going to switch it up, and we have the creativity and the freedom to do that. And that's why a consistent, repeatable structure, which is something that's really, it's just like my daily routine has to be really, because I do different things every day. So I have a daily routine that I really try to stick to because it just helps me be more creative and have less to consider, right?
Totally.
It's the same in a shoot. I have my same basic structure I'm going to do, but it's like you, I'm not going to take them through the same 12 poses or the same 12 prompts or the same whatever as everyone else, because it's like a catalog in my brain. There's all these things and it's a Rolodex, and okay, I'm going to pick that. Or this outfit they brought reminds me of this one outfit that someone brought one time and it looked so cool with this light. So that's just a great starting point, and just going to that and then just changing and creating and discovering. And it's like, that's play. It's playing. It's kids
and
do.
We need it. We gotta
just play. And that's what makes it. That's seriously collaboration. That's why it's so fun. That's why we as photographers, I think, also have so much fun at workshops, is because it's a group of people who don't really know each other, but we all have the same common interest and skill. And then we just play together.
Yeah. It's like being a little kid again, right? Showing up, you don't know anybody, but you're like, you want to go throw rocks at this thing? And you're like, yeah. It's just
and kids don't go, oh, I didn't throw the rock with my son. I think about throwing rocks onto one big rock in the middle of the stream when we try to get him on there or something, right? He doesn't throw one and be like, oh, I knew it. I can't throw rocks. I'm just going to give up.
I'm not throwing rocks as good as these other kids.
No, they just keep doing, or they just do something else if they don't like it. Like, they don't make some story about why they're unworthy to throw rocks, or like, but that's what we can so often do with this stuff.
Totally.
It's like, it's fine, just play. That's how what's the point? What's the freaking point of showing up to this career you created for yourself, to this job that you made that doesn't even give you health insurance, and showing up to it and then not liking it?
Yeah.
Why are you doing it then?
You engineered this existence with no play in it?
Right. That sucks. I know, honestly, but I did the same thing. Oh my gosh. And I got so burnt out and I kind of questioned everything in my life, had to turn upside down, until now I'm just like, oh, I have another day that I'm alive and breathing. What am I going to do with it?
That's powerful as hell. That is powerful as hell.
It is, but it's so simple, right? It's so simple, but it makes people be honest. And sometimes people don't want to be honest. So I was the same way. I'm still that same way, probably, about some things I don't realize. I'm not better than anyone else. But I think that's what it comes down to, is the people, those of us who do pick up a camera and do enjoy this work and this craft and the transformation it can have on people, like, it will burn us out so fast if it no longer feels in alignment with our why. It will burn us out. It doesn't matter how many hours we're putting in. I don't think that's the thing. It's because I have sometimes put in a lot of hours on a given week or month. It's just, if it's aligned, that energy is going to come back to you. That's the thing. If it's unaligned, it just drains you. And then you're just like, what's even the point? And getting to realize and identify when that lights you up. And I think for me, the example I always like to tell was when I did my first raw portrait session in early 2023. that I was so afraid to do because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm this glamour photographer and I've got this whole Photoshop and hair and makeup team business with all this stuff. And I was like, oh, I'm going to ruin my reputation. I'm not going to make money and everything. But I got to the point where I was like, I just have to do this. And so I actually had one of my friends come to the studio just to play. It was just no expectations. And I'll never forget, we sit down after the shoot. This was before I did the instant reveals. I only started doing that on my third shoot, which if you watch my course, you know why. But first shoot, I'm looking through the images of the shoot. And as soon as they all pull up on my screen and I flip through them, I get up from my desk and start dancing around my studio.
Aww.
That has never happened before. And I remember thinking to myself, this is the path for me, even though it's scaring the shit out of me, because I have never gotten up during a culling session and just started dancing with that much joy.
So can I ask you a question?
Of course.
What do you feel like was your defining moment when you switched from the male gaze to the feminine gaze?
I see the male gaze now as maybe not so much exploitation, not so much how uncovered someone is, and not even necessarily how quote unquote sexual their pose is. I don't see it so much in that way anymore. I see it as the amount of agency of the person in the photo.
Okay, I was going to say commodification, but yes.
Commodification, agency. Is the person in the photograph, is that truly what they want?
Right.
I think that's what it comes down to.
I agree with you 100% on this.
I think I was just reading in a book yesterday about the trauma and how it affects the body. And there was a really interesting study that this doctor brought up just about childbearing, just really quickly. And he just said, basically, like all the studies they've done of women going through the childbirthing and especially with modern medicine and midwives or doctors or all these different things. And he just went to say, really what it comes down to is not whether it's vaginal birth or C-section or hospital birth or home birth or whatever, whether or not it's traumatic for the mother is whether she has agency in choosing what's going to happen.
Yes.
And that is, I think that goes for so many things, right? And so is that truly what that person wants? Is that truly how they want to show up? It's consent too, in the shorthand. Yeah. It's that consent and everything. And so I think for me, I don't think it's been a light switch change. It's been a gradual shift over time as I've grown and evolved in all of this. For you, was it gradual or was it more of a, oh, I'm switching?
So a little bit about my background, and I've never said this publicly before, so I don't know, who knows, I might scrub this, but I was a dancer from the time that I was 18 to maybe about 21, 22. I did it on and off, and I was go-go dancing in New Jersey, and I was trying to hide it from everybody. And I learned a lot about men in that time in my life. And when I started modeling more seriously and really liking the production end of things, I think I was doing it from a place of wanting to protect other women. And for me, it's been a lifelong journey creating these spaces for women because I feel like they're so needed and they're so necessary. And it's always been, I guess, it's always been like an act of protest for me and an act of reclamation. And I feel I'm actually surprised that I'm so emotional right now, but like,
I'm not.
This work matters to me because women deserve to feel like they own their bodies. And I fight so hard against these forces, these systems, really, that take away our agency from us. So yeah.
I am so proud of you for sharing that, and I'm so thankful you did, because look at us right now. A former go-go dancer and a pastor's wife. No,
I love that so much.
Because it sounds funny and silly, but we are both trying to heal that wound of misogyny and of objectification on seemingly two different ends of a spectrum.
But it's the same system.
It's the same system. I want to say so many bad words right now just because I'm just like, I'm like erupting. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know that about you. Like that's, but
because honestly, I still have shame. I still have shame about it. So this here talking about it, this for me is an act of reclamation.
Yes, absolutely. It is reclamation.
Taking back my agency around feeling shame about something that I had to do to survive.
Same.
I didn't have the option of calling somebody up and saying, hey, I can't afford this month or whatever. I had to take care of myself.
Yes. Yes. And you're doing the work that's the oldest job in history.
So
honestly, just in a modern context, so I could totally relate. It's like with me, and I had so much hatred toward myself and anger toward myself for so long around that self-abandonment that I went through during that period where I was just the buttoned up, people-pleasing pastor's wife, trying to be all things to all people and thoroughly abandoning my true self to my core. And I held so much anger and shame and resentment around that, honestly, until relatively recently. And I was actually recently on a podcast called The Cult Next Door, and it was so powerful. And I went on there with my partner because we've been together through all of this. And my partner used to be a pastor who's now openly queer, non-binary. I'm, all my, it's a reclamation, like you said, and our own personal journey we've been on. It is so powerful. And on the podcast, it's actually on the last episode, which at the time of this coming out, it will be out. I still remember this thing I said out loud on the podcast, like you just said it out loud and we're able to release it, where I said, you will be surprised at no matter how much you've betrayed yourself, how much you've abandoned yourself, how much you've lied to yourself, and how much anger or shame or guilt you carry around any of that. You'll be surprised at how easy it is to forgive yourself and come home to yourself.
Yes.
That's all you have to do, right? And it's, if you're a portrait photographer, if you're an intimate portrait photographer, especially, and your heart is in what you do, there is everything you're trying to heal in your clients is what you're trying to heal in yourself.
Shadow work is where it is at, girl.
Like it is. That's where it is. And so if you're like, I don't really know what I'm trying to heal, look at what you're trying to hold up a mirror. What are you trying to heal in your clients? What's coming through in your marketing language? What the client conversations you're having? And that's one of the beautiful things, because it took me doing my first 3 raw portrait sessions of other people until I would finally step in front of the camera with no posing and no Photoshop myself.
Ain't that some shit? Somebody
was like,
asked me this weekend, they were like, can I photograph you? And I was like, oh.
What? No? Or like scared or what? Or yes?
I only actually let my best friends take photos of me. Okay, some of my best friends are like the best photographers in North America. Be open to it. Sit for people. Even if you get a photo back that you don't like, you'll get through it.
Yes.
And that's part of the medicine.
Sit for yourself. You can't do it for someone else. Yes. Set up your own tripod, set up your own camera. That's why I preach self-portraits all the time. I'm Seriously. Like, you got to be willing to do it. And not even nude necessarily. Now I always end up taking my clothes off because I don't know, it just feels good to me. But at the beginning I didn't. And I was actually very closed off. I had very closed, pay attention to your body language in the photos. Use self-portraits as a journaling practice. That's what I started doing, and it will impact your work and your business and your marketing and your everything for the better, right? Because you're putting yourself in your client's shoes. And yeah, go hire other boudoir photographers and be photographed by them, because I did that a few years ago. It ended up being 6 months before my initial breast cancer diagnosis, which of course I didn't know. And I was willing to do some fine art nude in that shoot. And those are the last pictures of my breasts that exist, because then I had them removed. And I'm so thankful I had that, right? Totally. And I was still so surprised that even after being a boudoir photographer for as long as I've done it, being an educator, everything, I still couldn't sleep the night before that shoot.
Yeah, and like, you're nervous. Yeah, I got it.
It was so good to remember that, right? And to be in that headspace. We've got to put ourselves in front of the camera, or at least be willing to. Yes, men too, men, women. Also, fellas, don't come at me with the, oh, no one wants to see a photo of me, especially older men that like, and I love that I have a lot of male mentees and students. First of all, I love that. I love that they're willing to talk to me and they're willing to connect with me. I think that's great, because if you're willing to have a female educator, that says a lot about you, unfortunately. But go look at the freaking art museum. it's mostly paintings of old dudes
Yeah.
and sculptures of old dudes with full beards. So don't come at me like, oh, that's not valid. Whatever. You're the one who's deciding that not that's the case. So
Also,
show up.
you matter. You
Yes.
matter.
Yeah. You absolutely matter.
Period. Period. And that's really what it's about. And you matter, you deserve to be documented in a way that makes you feel good about yourself.
Yep.
Shit.
Absolutely.
So anyway, this was, as usual, an amazing conversation. We got really into the nitty gritty. I can't believe
I love it.
I shared some of the stuff that I shared. I'm feeling a little bit lighter, I have to say.
I love that. And how many other people out there are you gonna free by saying that, right? Of like their own shame. And same with me. It took me years to open up about my situation with my whole growth period and leaving high control religion and all that. And I'm so glad I did, because until I did, I carried it. And
Oh,
it's like life's too short. You can't carry this stuff.
shame
You
has
have to
no
let it.
place in our bodies. Shame has no place in our bodies. And that is something
No.
that I could talk about. And we are going to actually talk about that in the next session. We're going to talk about all sorts of stuff. We're going to talk about processing grief and illness through photography. And we're going to talk about why it's so important that we have our own emotional support as practitioners, essentially, and service providers and magic makers. Thanks again, Mitzi. This was so fantastic, and I look forward to speaking with you more. And I think we've talked about planning some other really cool things, so that's going to be awesome. And yeah, absolutely. So we'll talk soon, and have a great day.